to the OnionSoup podcast, the podcast made by artists for artists. I'm your host, Lucas Medina. Today we're going to be looking at my personal experience participating in Inktober 2017. Now, if you're not familiar with Inktober, Inktober is a popular annual celebration of ink drawing during the month of October. It was started by illustrator, concept artist, short story creator, and animator Jake Parker. I had the privilege of seeing Parker speak live at CTN Expo 2016. If you do a quick search on Instagram, you'll see a bunch of posts tagged Inktober or Inktober 2017. I first heard about Inktober in 2015 and made it 9 days in. 2016 was a busier year for me. 2 months from graduation, started 4 days late, and made it a total of 3 days into the challenge. I learned that drawing every day isn't as easy as it sounds. Drawing every day is a reminder to let yourself make mistakes, and I never thought of it that way until this year. Thankfully this year, I somehow managed to make it through all 30 days. I think really what helped me the most was forgiving myself for missing a day or two here and there. I made up for it many times by making 2 or 3 drawings, maybe in the same day. I think the way I messed up in prior years was really holding myself accountable for missing a day here and there and just assuming that I couldn't make them up, as if that was the end of the challenge and I had failed it. I think, though, that wasn't the point when Jake decided to make the Inktober challenge. I think it was more of just a way for artists to remind themselves to draw consistently and for themselves. Now, what I learned from Inktober is that drawing every day isn't easy. I would miss a couple days here and there, but I didn't let that stop me, and I didn't let it discourage me either from continuing the challenge. That really was my fatal fault there in the earlier years of attempting back in 2015 and 2016. Drawing every day is sort of a reminder to let yourself make mistakes and to not overthink your drawings and your concepts when you're creating these pieces of art. I think that was something about Inktober that really struck with me, is it kind of just made me draw freely and not focus too hard on creating a piece that was super grand and like complex or anything like that. I think there was something really great about being able to go on Instagram and see people of all different drawing levels and skills kind of try their hand at the challenge. You'll see people who have hundreds of thousands of followers and, these incredible pieces that they create in one day. And then you'd also see the other side of it, the more beginner artists who had less of a experience drawing, but still tried their best to participate in Inktober as fully as possible. I think that was really the nice thing about Inktober, is that it kind of brought all sorts of artists from different backgrounds together to complete a pretty daunting task. I'm sure there was many seasoned artists who couldn't keep up, but like I said, it was great to see everyone trying their hardest. I'm not sure if many other artists have the same problem, but one of my biggest issues is finishing sketchbooks. I was never able to do it. I could never stick to one sketchbook. I'd always find a new one that I liked that was maybe nicer. I wasn't able to ever finish a sketchbook in my life. The max amount through a sketchbook I've probably ever made was maybe halfway through, sometimes a quarter of the way. I had a huge problem with ripping out pages before I ever finished a book. If you go through most of my sketchbooks, it'll all be blank books with the first few pages just ripped out. Maybe 10 pages, maybe 20 pages, just completely ripped out of the front of the book. I think this was a bad habit I formed because I was never satisfied with the continuity of any of my books. I felt like all my books had to be great, or all the drawings in my books had to look finished in some way. And I was never happy with just the small sketches I do here and there, especially if my skill level progressed throughout the book. I just didn't like the fact that the earliest drawings in my book were crappy or just didn't look the way I wanted them to, and then the ones I would do more recent looked better. So that was something kind of I struggled with a lot with sketchbooks. I think with Inktober, I was actually able to get 75% of the way through my sketchbook. I'd really like to continue drawing every single day, and hopefully I'll finish this book all the way through. Crossing my fingers on that one, but no guarantees. But I'm holding myself accountable for sure. Doing Inktober feels like I've trained for a marathon, but I haven't run it yet. I feel like I need to do like 365 days of drawing just to be sure that I've committed to this race. I think it was something. It's very similar to a workout. It reminds me of building muscle. You cannot stop, otherwise you lose the momentum. What I found particularly interesting about Inktober, and something that I really enjoyed, was the natural progression of continuing further into the sketchbook. Not only did it get easier as I went along, but I actually liked and disliked some of the pieces I made throughout the whole thing. Some of the pieces that I made later, sometimes I'd make pieces in a rush, and they'd get better response, funnily enough. And sometimes I'd make something with more effort, take a little bit longer in sketching out the concept and inking it, and it may have gotten less response, which is fine. I think what matters the most is creating something that you really were proud of and that you enjoyed the most in the end. All artwork seems to hit with some people and not so much with others. Everyone has their own preference for aesthetics and what they like about an art piece. Throughout the process, I was also determined to find my sort of natural drawing style, or my signature drawing style. That was something that, for me, I've always kind of struggled with finding a style. I admire tons of artists who have created sort of a recognizable look for their artwork, and that's something that I haven't always been able to figure out on my own. It's something that I feel like I've slowly come closer and closer towards, but at the same time I have this wide variety of art styles, and I don't like to be committed to just one. I feel like if you're trying to market yourself as an artist, it's important not to have too many styles, and that could be my greatest fault right now as an artist. I feel like sometimes you almost have to create separate pages and separate art accounts for yourself, depending on what kind of art you're creating. I had a professor in college who really explained to us the importance of marketing yourself as an artist and what that means. And most of that was just creating a consistent look or style for your art pages, your website. And I just feel like it's not easy, because as an artist, you kind of want to post everything that you do. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about it. Maybe you can be an artist who has multiple styles, but it seems like the most successful people that I see online and on Instagram, all those pages, it seems to be that they have a real consistency going on their art pages, and I think that's something that most artists need to find if they want to be noticed or recognized for what they do. If I were to give advice to anybody who would like to try Inktober for themselves next year, I mean, it's never too late to start anytime before October, but I do feel like the pressure of Inktober and everyone else posting is just an exciting experience. It's a great motivation. If I had any advice for those people, I really think to just not hold yourself too accountable for not drawing every single day. I think it would be important to make sure that you make up those drawings so that you don't feel like you failed Inktober. I think that was my biggest regrets from the previous years, that I fell behind and I can't make them up now because it's the next day. But I don't think that's true at all. I think you can definitely make them up. I think it's just about whatever it takes to get you to continue drawing and not stopping the challenge throughout the month. I do hope to participate in Inktober again next year. I think there's no question about it. This was a really great experience, good learning and growing experience for myself as well as an artist. There is a sense of accomplishment that you feel after you've finished, which was a really fantastic feeling. I'd personally like to thank Jake Parker for everything he's done for the illustration community, the drawing and art community in general. It's just a really positive impact on the art community as a whole. I definitely recommend going on Instagram and searching the hashtag Inktober or Inktober 2017. There's a lot of great posts out there. You could probably look forever, and you would probably never find the end to it. I think he says something around 3 million people posted, and it's really great to see all the motivation that it has caused. Hopefully I can get some reactions from other people who've participated. I feel like just my own personal experience is unique in some ways to myself and to others maybe as well, but I really do believe that everyone takes away something different from Inktober, and it's just really a great experience to go through. You kind of form your own journey through Inktober and kind of go through different things in your head that maybe other people may not. So anyway, we're going to just kind of wrap up this episode here, and I hope you've enjoyed my narration of my Inktober experience. Thank you so much all for listening. I hope I've earned your follow. Expect a lot more things like this to come in the future. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening.